this is Carly. I am uploading this video a little bit later than anticipated. I am uploading it at 9:15. I had recorded a beautiful class session at 7 o'clock. Unfortunately, nobody logged on, which was fine, but I still did the session as planned. And I went to upload it and realized there was no audio to it. So I had to take a break and reset, and I'm coming back to give this overview of the informative speech again. I did mention that coming to this live session was optional. That's still the case, but I hope that you pay attention to all the information while I talk tonight. It won't be very long. My goal is 20 minutes, so that you are prepared and you can do the best speech that you can, because all of this information is important. So, sorry, I'm a little frazzled, but one of the benefits of having a giant mistake of a video is that I did notice that some of the handles I was trying to mirror in this weren't working. So the benefit for you is that it will be shorter because I won't show all of them. Of course, the con to that is that you won't get to see exactly what I'm talking about, but what I will do is attach all of the pieces of all of the handouts I'm mentioning. I'll attach them in an email when I send out this video, so you should be able to see them all. So I will get started. Basically, I want to do 4 big things. I want to give you an overview of the speech guidelines, talk a little bit about what your options are as far as what informative speech topics you choose. I want to talk about outlines, sources, and then some verbal things, and then a couple of logistical things about grades and self and peer evaluations and so on. So I've not done a video of myself yet. I've done that in other online classes pretty early on, but I didn't do it this fall, so it is nice to meet all of you in person. I've enjoyed your speeches so far, and look forward to watching your other ones. So I will get started. Like I said, I'm a little frustrated because I did it was pretty good, this whole video before, so I'm doing it again. If you please remember that you can always email me if you have any questions about what I've discussed here. If anything's a little unclear, I'd be happy to clear it up for you. I'm always available via email. The same goes, if I forget to mention it later, for any aspect of your informative speech. So if you have an outline you'd like me to look over, or you have questions about how to cite any of your sources, I would be happy to look those over and encourage you to email me that information. So I will get started here. And my audio is still working, I see, so that's good. With a quick overview of Blackboard, obviously nobody logged on earlier today and nobody is here with me now, but we will host sessions like this for the visualized speech as well as the persuasive speech. And so when you're in the Blackboard Collaborate and the session is live, there are some spots where you can raise your hand and ask me a question if your audio is working, or you can type in questions into the chat feature. And there is a private chat. They're not exactly private. I can't see what you say, so just bear that in mind. But just make sure you know how to use it. And like I said, in the future, if you do log on for a live session, make sure to do so about 10 to 15 minutes early, just in case there's some sort of issue. So basically, types of informative speeches. So one of the handouts that I will attach to an email is, and it's one that I sent out previously this week even, is the informative speech guidelines. And on the second page of that, it talks about types of informative speeches. And it mentions that you can give an informative speech about people, place, things, objects, concepts, processes, a whole variety of things. The entire purpose of an informative speech is simply to inform. So make sure that you choose something that's just informing. We don't want your opinion at this point. This is not your persuasive speech. This is purely an informational and informative speech. With that being said, we also, at this point, I also don't want to see any type of visual aid. The only visual I want to see is you standing in front of your audience giving this speech. because that's all that you need right now. So basically, the visual aid speech is also an informative speech, but there I've asked you to create some sort of visual aid to help enhance the information that you're providing. This right now is just you and your words and your research and your audience. So, but choose a variety of things. Two kind of cautions for you. The first one is some of you have asked about doing how-to speeches, and in some of the lectures it mentioned that those were popular, and the instructor that recorded those lectures even said that she wanted those. Now those are great if that's something you want to do. A how-to speech can be a really good way to kind of get your feet wet when it comes to giving a speech. The problem with the how-to speech is that for this speech in this class, I require you to have two credible sources, aside from yourself, a dictionary or an encyclopedia, because those either don't give you a lot of information or we, as humans, they're not always credible. So, so you have to find credible sources about how to do something relatively simple. For example, how to carve a pumpkin. So that's what you want to give your speech on. Yes, that's fine, but you need to find credible sources about that topic that do not include Wikipedia or About.com or eHow, something like that. So you need to find some credible sources outside of that realm. And again, if you have questions about what's credible and what's not, if I think it would be appropriate, then please email me. So that's one of the cautions I'll give. The second one is that make sure that when you are choosing your informative speech topic, that it's at some point in your speech, or really in the introduction, you'll have to tell your audience why we need to care about blank. So why do we need to care about pumpkin carving? You're going to have to find a way to tie that topic to your audience. So if you're giving a very specific speech, for example, when I taught it at the University of North Dakota, there were a lot of pilots there, and they always wanted to talk about being specific to that field, or they wanted to talk about air traffic control or unmanned aircraft. And those are fine topics, and certainly you can find credible sources about those topics. But for the average student who's at UND pursuing a music major, for example, you're going to have to work to draw that connection between your topic and that student. So just be cognizant of that, and make sure that if you choose something really technical or something that's really specific, that you are drawing the line between that topic and why it's important for your audience. So, types of informative speeches. And I think most of you, I remember reading through some of your ideas, and they were pretty good. So, I'm not too worried about that, but again, if you have questions, please let me know. So, a review of speech guidelines. So, this same handout that has the types of informative speeches also gives the speech guidelines. Now, there is a 3 to 5 minute time limit on the speech, and you will be graded accordingly. Now, of course, the time limit is not your entire speech, but anything less than 3 minutes or over 5 minutes, you will lose points for. And the reason being is that when you are asked to give speeches in different settings, for example, in other academic settings, maybe in a work setting, maybe it's a job interview, and you have to give a presentation as part of the job interview, they are giving you a time limit, and failure to speak within that time limit could result in not getting the job, or not getting a great grade, or not being asked to come back and speak. Oftentimes, there might be speakers after you, and when you take up more time than you are supposed to, then others can't speak. It really is a poor reflection on you. It shows, that some organizational skills are not maybe all there. So keep that in mind, the 3 to 5 minute time limit. Also on this handout, which I'm not showing you, but my first video, well, still didn't show you, but I wanted to show you, you'll need 2 credible sources. So like I mentioned, these are 2 credible sources. This does not include yourself, although we would like to think we're credible sources, we are not. And it does not include an encyclopedia or a dictionary. Now, if you use an encyclopedia or a dictionary, you do need to cite those, but you'll be asked to provide one additional source. So just keep that in mind. Some of the other speech requirements are an audience of at least 3 people. Make sure to scan them before and after you speak. And, clear, concise ideas, and make sure it's very logical. One of the other guidelines is to include an outline, which is their next topic. You see that transition there. So is to include a topic. So basically by October 26th, you'll need to turn in a speech video, a speech outline, and then a self-evaluation. So the speech outline is really important. One of the other handouts that I'll include in your email is samples of the speech outline. So some of the things I want you to remember: make sure to only put short words or phrases on your outline. These are outlines that, in theory, I'd like you to be able to print off, cut up, put on your note cards, and have those short words or phrases jog your memory so that you can confidently speak about whatever it is that you practice it enough that it makes sense. For example, this PowerPoint I'm using is kind of an example of that outline I'd like to see from you. So you can see that I have short words and phrases, I have overarching main points and small minor points underneath them. I want yours to look similar. Now the handout that I provided for you gives a wonderful blank example, and if I were you, I would just plug in my own information to that outline, and then go from there. Now the introduction and the conclusion of that outline, they give you the elements that you should put in there. For example, it'll say attention getter. This is where you put your keyword for your attention getter. It will say review main point 1. Okay, that's one of your main points, and then put that into that piece of the conclusion. So really go through that and use that as your guide. It also has an example of an outline that was completed and done correctly by another student, so you can see how they actually formatted the outline for their own speech and see how they used their own words, short phrases or words is really how it should be. The only 2 sentences I want to see that are full sentences on your outline that you submit to me are the specific purpose, which we've talked about. And again, this handout does a great job of showing that. And also your thesis. So remember how valuable that thesis statement is. So those should be the only 2 full sentences. That thesis statement should also include a preview of your main points. So it might say, today I'm going to talk to you about pumpkin carving, about its history, about about how to carve a pumpkin, and about some of the current trends in pumpkin carving. Okay, that is a great thesis statement. It tells us as the audience exactly where this speech is going. So always in your speaking, you want to tell the audience what you're going to tell them. Then you tell them. Then you tell them what you told them. So it's always this kind of circle, making sure that the audience always is aware of what information is being passed on to them. So make sure to use short phrases or words in your outline. Also in the outline, make sure to include a reference page. That outline handout has a really good example of it. We use APA format in the communication discipline, so please make sure to use that. There's good examples of reference pages on page 135 in your book, as well as at Purdue OWL, if you Google Purdue OWL. And then I've also included in week 8, and then I'll move it to week 9, an APA reference guide in our course, and you can use that as a guide. So APA format is maybe different than some things we've used before. Again, sometimes it's hard, especially when you work with online sources, to figure out who the author is, for example, what year exactly this information was published. So when you have questions like that, please let me know. Sometimes APA is not as straightforward as anyone would like, and so we can find the answers together, because it's always a work in progress. And the last thing I'm going to say about outlines, and again, I wish I could show you, but on the outline handout, they have the sample outline and then the outline that one of the students actually completed. So in that outline, you will see parentheses with an author, the name, and a comma, and the year next to it. This is the in text citation for your speech outline. This is a requirement. So we want to see that. You'll see here for credible sources and citing sources. I want to see sources in 3 locations: within your outline, on your reference page attached to your outline, and in the speech itself. itself. Excuse me. So within the outline, I want to see next to the corresponding information the author, a comma, and then the year. So you can pull that directly from your resources, your resource page. So for example, if I wrote an article about pumpkins in 1998 and you researched my article and you used one of my facts, let's say 40,000 pumpkins are grown each year in North Dakota, then where you talk about that in your speech on your outline, you put it next to the keyword 40,000 pumpkins. Next to it in parentheses, you'll write Gunnarsson, comma, 1998, parentheses. And that will show me or anybody or yourself when you are going through your outline and when you practice and when I'm looking through it, that's where you drew that piece of information from. And in theory, that will remind you to cite that source verbally. So you'll talk and say, in fact, did you know that 40,000 pumpkins were grown in North Dakota in 1998? That's according to an article Carly Gunnarsson wrote in 1998, for example, okay? So make sure that you incorporate that. Again, this outline handout is a really great example. I think she used Mayo Clinic as one of her authors. Please take a look at that and see how they've done it. There will be points lost if I don't see that within your outline. All right, so credible sources. Like I mentioned, there are 3 locations I want to see your sources. That is the outline, like I just said, in parenthetical citations next to the piece of information you got it from. I want to see it in a reference page. That's the traditional APA format that you can find on our course site under Week 8, in the book on page 135, or at Purdue OWL. And then the third place is I want to hear you cite your source. Now, page 159 in our book has a really good example of how to orally cite your sources. So the most common way we hear people cite their sources in a speech is according to, all right? But you could get creative. You could say in a recent article published by whoever, or in so-and-so states, or in 2010, Gunnarsson said, there's a variety of ways to say it. And again, practicing will help you kind of flow through and transition through any kind of hiccups you may have there. But I want to see it in 3 sources, and I will kind of triangulate, make sure that what I hear in the speech is what I see in the outline and what I see on the reference page. So make sure that you have it in those 3 places and that you are utilizing APA format. Let me just make sure I have my other outline here that is not missing anything else. No, I don't think so. So again, so far I have a handout on the informative speech guidelines, a handout on outlines, and then a handout on APA references that I will send out to you. All right. There's one other one that I'll include, but we'll talk about that in a moment. Okay, so finally, you practiced, you've researched, you've done your outline. All you have to do is give the darn speech. So some things to remember. These speeches are different than the introductory or impromptu speeches that you've given. These really should be held at a different standard. This speech involves research, and so I want you to be your most confident when you give this speech, and I want your appearance to reflect all of that hard work that you put into that speech. So that means I'd really like you to pay attention to your eye contact. I know that sometimes in your previous speeches, some students have sat, they've chosen an audience, and then they sit down on a couch, on a chair, wherever, and they give their speech. I'd like to see you standing. Again, that builds your confidence, and that's the most likely way that you'll be ever giving a speech. I want you to pay attention to your appearance. Now, if we were in a traditional classroom, I'd ask you to be business casual, but because you're not, I just ask that you do not wear sweatpants or a sweatshirt, and that you take some pride in your appearance on that particular day, and then make sure that you have an audience of 3 people, and that you scan them before and after. Now, an audience is crucial, and here it's really not public speaking unless you have an audience there. If there's no audience there, it's just called talking to yourself. making sure you have an audience really is a big deal, and again, points could be lost, or will be lost if I don't see an audience. So those are some of the nonverbals. I want this to have more of a formal feel than any of the other speeches, yet I know that the informative speech is just a stepping stone. The visualized speech will be great, and then the persuasive speech will be even better. So I do understand that we are starting from someplace. It's not like it has to be exactly perfect. There's always room for improvement for everybody, and myself certainly included. So the last two pieces. One is about grading. So please give me a little bit more time to grade all of these speeches than other regular weekly content. There are over 30 students in this class, probably low 30s of students that are still with us. So it does take a while to get through these, and I want to do a good job in really evaluating all of your skills. So please allow me more time, and I thank you in advance for your patience. And I will text, or I will email if there are any other delays. And then I want you to look for comments. So there is a grading rubric. This is the last handout that will be attached in your email. And I want you to look at it because I want to be really transparent about what I'd like to see. And that grading rubric will show you what elements you really need to hit to earn a good grade. And so there's a piece on organization, there's one on delivery, there's one on credibility, there's one on the overall picture, there's one on organization. There's all these different kind of main points, if you will, these main heads, and there are different elements underneath each one. And again, I will attach that so as you practice, you can make sure you're getting all of those. But there's rubrics within the grade book on our course site, and I give points according to each piece of the rubric. And then I will write comments based on that. So you'll be able to see where you've lost points, and as well as you'll each get personalized comments back from me. And so I leave comments for every single person, and I take a lot of time to do it. So I'm reminding you that when you do see your speech grade, please click into the comments and make sure to read them and pay attention to them, and ask me questions if you have any other questions. And the last piece of information are evaluations. So your speech is due no later than 11:59 on Sunday, October 26th. Your self-evaluation is also due that day. So that means that not only do you have to give the speech within that time, but you have to rewatch it and then comment on yourself. Now, there is a evaluation submission page, that there is a document that you need to upload and read through the questions and answer the questions. And please give me some nice, detailed answers. One sentence answers are not really going to cut it. So give me some detailed answers and then upload that. So if you start to give your speech at 11:30 on Sunday, October 26th, make sure, that's fine, but make sure that you get that speech evaluation done, that self-evaluation done in that same period of time, because they are both due at the end of that week. The peer evaluation, however, is due the following week, and next week you will be assigned to an individual whose speech you will watch. You are asked to watch their speech, and you also have a set of questions that you'll be asked to answer about their speech. And you will, you'll see that next week. You'll see who you're assigned to. Everybody has until Sunday night to turn their speech in, and then you will have the following week to watch that person's speech and then complete the evaluation for them. I'd like to give these evaluations back to the speaker, or to the original speaker, so that they can use them to improve their speeches to come. So that really means that you need to be respectful, yet helpful in your critiques, and also be diligent by finding the positives and negatives in every speech that you watch. So these are supposed to be kind and respectful and helpful submissions. So just bear that in mind. And like I said, the schedule will go up next week. So I don't know how many minutes I've taken up. And obviously nobody is here to have questions. No one was here at 7, and now that it's 2.5 hours later, nobody is here either. So like I said, please let me know if you have any questions. I will email this out to you, so when you watch this, you've already seen that email, and then we'll attach those handouts. So please make sure to look them over. Again, contact me if you have any questions. I am so happy to help, and I want to see you do very well, and I hope to see you at our next live session, and I hope it's not a bust. So thank you so much. Have a good night.